Hi everybody, and thank you for joining me today. So, working more on the peacock's wing feathers, and probably won't get to his tail feathers this month. Yeah, I would say that'll be next month. Yeah, all the flowers done. It's all feathers from now on for a while, till I get close to the very end. And because of the way he's standing, his wing feathers go across that way. But they're very long and it's further than I want to reach with my arm, so I'm kind of just cutting it off at around line 350 there, because yeah, just to make it a little more comfortable for my back. So yeah, I sort of had to cut it off somewhere. So yeah, so it won't be like a sharp straight line, just sort of drifting over to, or drifting off right about at that line 350. Then I'll move the whole frame over and start striping my way up from the bottom again. That is the plan, and we'll see how closely I stick to it. So yeah, I often have a plan and then I change it as I go. So as you can see, there is a lot of threads here. Yeah, parked here. This is a fairly high confetti area. And so, yeah, again, just kind of working in stripes, but cutting them off at that line, at that point, just to make it a little easier for myself. A little easier on my back, which gets sore without a lot of provocation. So, yeah, it is a little bit better today, the air quality. It's not great, but I can actually see a little bit of blue sky today, which I have not been able to see for quite a while, so I will take it. Yeah, we had pretty big rain a couple days ago, and I think that kind of helped clear things out. Yeah, my husband and son were at the car show, and it said only a 15% chance of rain, but it did it anyway. So, yeah, not for very long, but yeah, long enough. Yeah, my husband was debating whether to take, because they had to take the work vehicle to the show, the classic GTO that his work has, and then he was trying to decide whether to bring his own, the Prelude that he restored when he was in his early 20s, and he thought, oh, I don't want to take it if it's going to rain or possibly hail, but only 15%, I guess I'll risk it. So of course it rained, right? I said, see, it's all your fault. Yeah, we always joke about that. It's like I said one time, I thought we were done with the snow for the year, so I washed all the mittens and scarves and all of that stuff. So of course, then we had another 6 inches of snow come out of nowhere, right? Because yeah, isn't that always the way? So yeah, I'm working across a little bit of a wider area today. Just, that's how it happens to work out. But yeah, like I said, so around line 350 here is where I'm making my cutoff. Actually, might go down one color further. Yeah. So some stitches will sort of go over the line and some will stay behind it, and yeah. I am not someone who works strictly square by square where the lines end. Yeah, some people prefer to do that, but I do not. I used to, when I stitched from paper, I stitched by page, so of course there was a sharp ending point where the page ended, but now with Pattern Keeper, yeah, it connects the whole thing in one big continuous piece, so that's really nice. Yeah, and you have the option to have the page lines on or off, and I just turn them off and just stitch to wherever feels like a comfortable stopping point for me. So yeah, right about there, so just past the line. And then the next color, I'm gonna do this here just past the line, and so on and so forth. Because yeah, like I said, you could see the steep line continues that way, but yeah, like I said, that's further than my back and neck will be comfortable with twisting. So that is why I am stopping there. Yeah, especially when I'm working across this huge 14 count. If I was working on a higher count, then I could fit more in my frame. Yeah, so kiddo's grad is really soon. Hard to believe. Yeah, and then he's looking at starting up a training program in September. We haven't got official word yet, but it's almost certainly going to happen. But be kind of nice because he'll sort of get one last summer to, yeah, kind of relax before jumping into that. So yeah, when I graduated high school, I didn't really have any firm plans. I ended up getting a job and saving some money for a while because, yeah, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I was not going to go into student loan debt if I didn't even know what I wanted to do. So, yeah. Yeah, because in my parents' generation, it was a lot cheaper to go for post-secondary. So, yeah. So, yeah, I was not going to make that kind of investment if I wasn't sure what I was going to do, so. Yeah, so I end up with a lot of threads here. Just kind of traveling back and forth. Just kind of have to keep peeking up at my camera to make sure everything is visible for you guys, because that would not be good, hey, if I was stitching right out of the, yeah, right out of the frame. Okay. Oh my goodness me. Oh, yeah, so we went out for dinner the other night. We went for Indian food, which is my husband's favorite, and we shared some. So I got beef curry and he got butter chicken, and then we shared. And I did not realize, because we had our son with us. Usually we go by ourselves for like a lunch thing, because he's not a big fan of Indian food either. So, but anyway, we took him, and so my husband usually gets his spicy. I'm a wuss when it comes to spice, so I get mine mild. And anyway, he got it mild so that we could all share the dishes. And I did not know that the butter chicken has cream in the sauce. So yeah, I am paying for it today because it makes me really, really tired the next day. Yeah. So I don't have it's not lactose, because like lactose-free stuff doesn't help me, and lactate pills don't help me, and I don't have any of those like bloating or any of that kind of symptoms. I'll feel fine, And then the next day I feel like I'm coming down with a really bad flu or that I've been like sedated. Yeah. And so yeah, this morning I woke up just totally, couldn't barely get my eyes open. And I thought, okay, was there milk in that? And I looked it up and yeah, there's cream in the sauce. It's like, ah, darn it. So yeah, normally, like I said, I don't eat it. Normally I eat my curry dish, he eats his. But we shared, and yeah, now I discovered, guess what? I guess I won't be doing that again. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Yeah. It's probably the milk protein is what the doctor says, because when I was a baby, I couldn't have cow's milk formula, but goat's milk I was fine with. Yeah, and they said that the protein in goat's milk can be easier to digest. So it still has lactose, so if that's your problem, it won't fix it. But yeah. Yeah, and my son had the same thing. So when he transitioned off formula, yeah, he would drink goat's milk. The only problem is it has a shorter shelf life than cow's milk. Yeah. So it was kind of a pain because I'm someone who doesn't like to go to grocery very often. I like to sort of stock up and then, but with that, yeah, you could only buy them in jugs that were half the size of the cow milk. And yeah, they would only last maybe a week, 10 days kind of thing. So yeah. Yeah, I apologize. My throat is still irritated from the smoke. It's not as bad as it was, but unfortunately, it is still there. It looks like, yeah, with the way the wildfire season is going, it looks like it's here to stay, unfortunately. Yeah, if it's stuck around this long, then we're probably stuck with it. Okay. Yeah, this is an old color I bought way back when I first started cross-stitching in like high school. Yeah. And so it sat on a bobbin for, like 20 years. So, yeah. Even though it's not on a bobbin anymore, you can see it's got quite a lot of kinks in it. Yeah, you could actually, there's someone I watched, a floss tuber, I cannot remember their name, unfortunately. But anyway, they said what they would do is they would keep a little damp sponge and pull the threads through it to sort of help get the kinks out. And then sort of like, so you do it ahead of time, prepare them sort of, then drape them over something, let them dry for a few minutes, and then when you go to stitch with them, they're straighter. So, yeah. Yeah, that's why I switched to an envelope system. I didn't like the dents in the yarn and also, or thread. And I also kind of like, I said, I now fold it up, cut them into equal pieces. So yeah, because I always ended up at the end with either a super long piece of it or I'd cut it in half and they'd be shorter than I liked to work with. So yeah, this kind of eliminated that. So there we go. So as used my usual method, as long as the stitches are connected on one side, I will stitch them. Then I don't have to switch colors quite as often. Even though I do still switch colors a lot. Yeah, as you'll know if you've watched me. Oh, that was not quite right. Yeah, I missed the spot. Yeah, so I know Father's Day was recently. I forgot to mention it, but happy Father's Day, belated, if that applies to you. Yeah, kind of a funny story about that. I had in an old job, one of my coworkers said that this was when they were all adults, but they were, got together to celebrate Father's Day. And they said, and so he had a really nice, they took him out for a nice brunch. And he's, sitting in his comfy chair, falling asleep. And he was bald at this point, right? So anyway, he said his sister thought it'd be really funny to write Happy Father's Day on his bald head with a marker, right? So while he's asleep in this chair, she starts and she gets as far as Happy Fat, and he wakes up. And so she didn't finish it, so he walked around with Happy Fat on his bald head for the rest of the day because nobody told him. Oh my goodness. And he's like, yeah, I mean, like, they were all in their 20s, like, as in old enough to know better, right? Okay, so parked it there. Oh, I missed one. There we go. Okay. So I'm thinking I may hit 75% by the end of this month because we're getting close to that. Yeah. About 800 or so stitches to go, and I have one more session with you all, so it looks doable. Which I said would be about 9,000 stitches in a month, so a little bit more than I usually do. 8,000 is kind of my average lately. Yeah, I would have if I only worked on this, but I did want to get some Firefly done this month, so. Because, yeah, last month I didn't get any. I just ran out of time. I was knitting more to try to finish that gift for my father-in-law. Okie dokie. Okay, so there's sort of one stitch up here by itself. So I will park it there. I'm going to tack it down halfway. It's a fairly long carry, and I would probably catch it with my finger on the back and pull it out, and I hate doing that. So yeah, kind of tack stitch like that just kind of keeps that from happening. Oh, that is not going to cooperate. yeah, I have like less than 75,000 stitches left to go, I believe. So yeah, getting closer. That's exciting. Yeah, at least I sang the smoke here, but yeah, my husband had to go out of town for work, and he was closer to where the fires are, and yeah, he said it was like almost raining ash out of the air like snow. Yeah, pretty nasty. Yeah, we did experience that here one year. Yeah, it was wild. Like, they weren't embers, but they were, yeah. Yeah, pieces of ash raining down. It was, ugh, not nice. Again, like I said, fortunately, we were not close enough to have to evacuate. Where we live there's really not much foliage around us. So, yeah, because a lot of the places that do are kind of closed in by forest. And so if that catches fire, you're hooped. But we're kind of lucky that we're out in the midst of a very big flat part. And so, yeah, we can get grass fires, but they're easier to get under control than a forest fire, obviously, because there's a lot more fuel when it's trees burning versus grass, right? So, yeah. Yeah, so kiddo school there. Oops, that was kind of off. Yeah, there we go. So they will be having a after grad party the day after. It's not organized by the school. They're not doing a prom or anything. And so they said, yeah, they will have a fire pit if they're allowed, but yeah, for the moment it looks like that's probably not going to happen. Yeah. So my husband said he will do the chaperoning duties since, yeah, it's going to be up really late. And I'm not as much of a night owl as I used to be. I still am a bit, but I still like to be asleep by about 11 or midnight. And yeah, it's going until like 4 in the morning. So, yeah. My husband had to do shift work for quite a few years. So, yeah. He was in the military. So, yeah. He said, you have to learn to sleep when you can and be awake when you need to. Yeah. So when our son was really little, he was usually the one who got up in the middle of the night, because once I get up, like, getting back to sleep is almost impossible. And for my husband, yeah, he can fall asleep in like 10 minutes. So, like, I'll be cooking dinner and he'll be like, how long till dinner? And I'm like, 20 minutes. He's like, oh, okay, I'll go take a nap. And he literally can just lie down, sleep for 10 minutes and get up again. It's like, what? By 10 minutes, I may be falling asleep, and I'm right at that point where you're just about to drift off, so you feel even more tired than if you hadn't tried to sleep at all. Yeah. So. Yeah, we were fortunate though. Our son started sleeping through fairly early on. He started sleeping about 10 hours at a time at about 2 months, but it was kind of not the right 10 hours. Yeah, like he would fall asleep at like 5 and sleep 10 hours, so then that means, right, yeah, but like 3 in the morning, right? And then, yeah, slowly he started to go to sleep a little later and sleep in a little later. So by about 3 months he was sleeping until about 6 in the morning, which, while not my favorite, is more doable than 3, right? So yeah. Yeah, his problem was he had a bit of reflux. So, yeah, unfortunately, that isn't fun. It took a while to figure that out because as babies, they can't tell you, right? All they can do is cry to let you know something hurts, but they can't tell you what. Yeah. It's up to you to figure it out. Yeah, you gotta love when they give you a diagnosis of colic, which is just basically, oh yeah, they just cry a lot. You're gonna have to deal with it till they grow out of it. Yeah, we had friends who had that. I think their fourth kid. And they said, oh, don't worry, they grow out of it by about 6 weeks. 6 weeks comes and nope. And well, they'll grow out of it by 3 months. And 3 months comes and nope. And yeah, they said it was almost a year before. Yeah. And they said the worst was that he had this high-pitched shriek that could like shatter glass kind of sound. Yeah. So they said, yeah, no need for a baby monitor. You could hear that across the house, Yeah, a little bit of green coming in here. And then it's going to go back to kind of reds. I can see from looking at what symbols are coming up there. Yeah, when you look at the mock-up, you can't really see the little spots of green and blue as much in the wing part here. But then when you stitch it up, yeah, the mock-up could not really contain as much detail as the actual finished piece. Yeah, I will be in groups where people will say, has anyone stitched this? And people say, well, look at the mock-up. It's like, yeah, but there's still no substitute, in my opinion, for seeing the actual stitched piece. Yeah, the mock-up can give you a good approximation, but it can't give you the full picture. So yeah, I have one thread here along the bottom edge, and actually I'm just going to stop for a second and take a look at the top one. Yeah, it's not very long either. So I will just be deciding sort of. Yeah, I will probably actually park this one and continue with it because the other one is pretty short. I think it would run out before I ran out of stitches. Cross-checking with my grid lines. Actually, I might just park that one more stitch over like this. Yeah. Alrighty. Alright, 919. Ooh, my goodness. Ugh. Yeah, so I ended up going back to bed I was sleeping for a couple of hours because of that milk-induced tiredness, but yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to be feeling it the rest of the day. Yeah, I didn't eat a lot, but enough that it did affect me. I said I'm lucky because, like, I can eat cheese and yogurt, which is, again, why I said I don't think it's the lactose problem, because I can eat those things, but, yeah, which I suspect is the bacterial culture in it. It helps to digest it, so, yeah, butter's fine. And I can have things with milk in them if they're cooked long enough. So, like, if I make a casserole, because I'll make the, those hash browns. We call it Who Hash, like, from Dr. Seuss. But anyway, it's with the cream of mushroom soup and some sour cream, and you mix it with cheese and the hash browns, and then you bake it for like an hour. And that I can eat because it's baked for an hour. Yeah. So. Yeah, so sometimes I can have cheesecake if it's been baked. If it's the kind where you just sort of mix it up and then like set it in a mold, then I can't eat it. So yeah, it's always like, hey, I can never, like, I have to ask people, well, was this baked? And a lot of times they're like, well, I don't know, I just bought it from the store. So it's like, yeah, I'll have to skip it because I will pay for it the next day. So I make my own cheesecake because I know that that is properly baked for me to be able to eat it. Although, yeah, like I mentioned a few months ago, I got a new oven, and my first cheesecake in it was a failure. Yeah. Yeah. It set about halfway through, and the center of it did not set. So I said I kind of made a cream cheese pudding. Yeah. So when I went to cut it, yeah, it kind of just fell apart. So you had to scoop it out, and it still tasted pretty good, but it was not what I was looking forward to. Yeah. So I think my old oven ran a little bit hotter because, yeah, the meal subscription box I get, it like to bake almost everything at 450 degrees, and I found that things would burn or come very close to it, even when I follow the directions. So I was cooking it in my old oven at around 425, 430 degrees. Yeah. And so I think that, like I said, I think that old oven ran a little bit hot. And so I've had to adjust a few things. So now I can cook it at the 450 that the meal kit instructions call for. I can now do that, whereas I couldn't before. But yeah, now I know next time when I make, I kind of thought the center looked a little more jiggly than it should have, but I guess I didn't trust myself because I had made that recipe many times before in my old oven and it always set, so I just assumed it would, and yeah, it didn't. So yeah, for the most part, I've been pretty happy with it. Because yeah, that old one was, it was really old. I'm not sure exactly how old because it came with the house when we bought it. And we bought it in 2006 and it was already old then. It was not brand new, I know that. So, like I said, this house was built in 73. I don't think it was quite that old, but yeah, it was old. And it only had one rack in the inside instead of two. So I don't know why, because I'm thinking like, it'd be pretty hard to break an oven rack. Like, I don't know, maybe they took it out once and forgot to put it back. Although why you would, I don't know. But yeah, it was kind of a pain because it required some Tetrising to, if I was cooking a big meal, yeah, to get everything to fit in there. But now I have two racks again, so woohoo. Yeah, and I tried to find a replacement, but like, while they have a standard size for ovens, they're kind of a range of sizes around a couple inches difference, and the interiors are not always the same. And so yeah, I measured it and I went online and looking, and everything was a couple of millimeters off, and I wasn't willing to risk it because they wanted like $500 for it. And it was kind of like at that point, you're almost ready to buy a new oven, right? And so I just dealt with it. I do have a second little one because it was a wedding gift. My husband's parents gave us a combination bread maker and oven. And the bread maker part doesn't work anymore. The part that used to knead the dough, that stopped working. The little motor died, but the actual oven part still works great. So yeah, it's kind of nice if like I'm making a dinner and, you know, 2 out of 3 dishes need to be at one temperature and one dish needs to be at a different temperature. Yeah, then it's kind of nice. I can pop the other one in my little oven. And also I like to use it sometimes in the summer because it's smaller. It's like the size of a microwave, and so it doesn't use up quite as much energy or put out quite as much heat. And so yeah, that's kind of nice too. Yeah, my mother-in-law had the same one. She'd had it for like 15 years, so she knew it was pretty good. So yeah, that's what they gave us. They gave us so many wedding presents. I felt so spoiled. I was like, you shouldn't have spent so much. But I think that was my mother-in-law's love language, was gifts. Yeah. So you can see now the detail of that one feather there, sort of that one rib of it. And then there'll be another one. Make sure I grab the correct thread here. Yeah, I don't buy bread makers anymore because I find they just don't seem to last. So I now bake my bread in the oven. Because, yeah, I got like 3 others since, and they lasted a year or just under and then died. Or of course, they would last just over a year, right when the warranty expires, right? And then like a week later, they die, right when it's no longer under warranty, because of course, right? Yeah, so I finally said, okay, forget it. So now I use a stand mixer to make the bread and bake it in the oven myself. Yeah, and I found, at least in my experience, KitchenAid was no longer the gold standard for those mixers anymore. Yeah, I got one, and you could hear the motor starting to slip. Yeah, it made this really loud clicking sound, and you could sort of, yeah, hear that it was catching. And yeah, that one lasted just over a year. And yeah, so I had a Breville, which lasted 3 years, but the one that's lasted the longest for me is a Cuisinart. Yeah, which I actually got with points at my grocery store, so that was kind of nice. Yeah. Yeah, I said, I often don't feel like a real adult, but then sometimes I get really excited that I got a bunch of points at the grocery store. I feel more adultier. But yeah, it was actually nice because they had it was like the year before's model was on clearance, and I got it with points, so yeah, that was nice. But yeah, like they say, they just don't make things like they used to, because yeah, my uncle, he went to culinary school and he still has his old KitchenAid mixer, which is like older than me, I think, or pretty close to it, you know. and it's still going strong. But yeah, you buy a new one. And yeah, my sister said her then boyfriend, he's now her husband, bought her one, and she said it died the first time she used it. So luckily they were able to return it, but it was like, really? You know? Yeah. I said, same with sewing machines. Singer was the gold standard for a long time. And I had a little $100 model that I had bought when my son was like 2 or something. And it ran great until it finally died. And so I went to replace it with another one. And yeah, it was all loose. It would not properly stitch at the tension I wanted to. And I went through, checked the instructions and everything. And it just, yeah, I don't know what was off. So I returned it and I got a different one. And that one, I put the piece of fabric in and it jammed about an inch in so hard that I was afraid that I wasn't going to get my fabric back. And yeah, and I tried it with another spare piece of cloth and did the same thing. And I tried, I unthreaded it, I took everything apart, restarted, and it did the same thing. And so, yeah, I was like, okay, at that point, I'm done. So I returned that, and I got a brother, because I didn't need anything fancy, I just wanted to be able to sew basic seams and to do a zigzag stitch for the outside of my cross stitch fabric so it doesn't fray. And apparently that was too much to ask. Yeah, my mother-in-law actually had one of the old classic ones that was built into the table with the foot pedal, that it's not electric, you have to move your foot back and forth. Yeah, and that thing was still in good shape. Yeah. Oh, I think, yeah, I marked that as parked there, but actually I stitched it. Yes, I stitched it when I carried it upwards and I just forgot to mark it. We are all good. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if anyone's claiming that one, because my mother-in-law passed away end of 2023. So yeah, they've been clearing out a lot of stuff from that house so that my father-in-law is going to sell it and downsize, because yeah, the kids are all grown with families of their own. He does not need that much space. Yeah. So for the last year or so, my sister-in-law and her wife have been helping to sort through so many years of stuff. Yeah. My mother-in-law had a hard time throwing anything away, so yeah. So there's, yeah, just tons and tons of clutter. As I said, they've made like 30 trips to the Goodwill, and I don't know how many trips to the dump, and yeah, it's been a lot. So yeah, there's been a few things that, so I claimed there's a big stuffed snowman and a penguin, which are like Christmas decorations. They're not like for cuddling stuffed animals because they're like filled with heavy sand or whatever, but they're for decorations. So I said, yeah, if no one else wants those, I'll take them because they're pretty cute. I like my Christmas decor. Yeah. But yeah, there was some, like they had a inflatable Santa that was in the picture, and she said, okay, but no one wants that because it's got some mold on it. So yeah. And my husband says, well, give him a couple more months, he'll walk out of there by himself. Yeah, a lot of the stuff they won't even take anymore. She had boxes and boxes of old VHS movies, and a lot of the thrift stores are no longer accepting them because nobody wants them. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, just cutting that off there at that line. And then, yeah, once I move the frame over, I will start stitching from there again. So I'll have a whole whack of threads parked there to dive into when I move it over. We'll see if I think I probably will. Yeah, because I got about sort of 600 in this little area here up to the 350 line. So yeah, that's probably going to happen. Okay, this is within the inch that I like to carry, so just park it up there, but I'm going to unthread it because I won't be getting to it for a bit. Yeah, just sort of fill in everything below it. Yeah, and then my father-in-law says he's probably going to move out to this province because most of his grandkids are out here now at this point. So I said there's a senior apartment condo complex that's within walking distance of our place if he's interested. It's not like a nursing home, like it's still independent living, but yeah, it's for older people, so you won't have, you know, you won't be woken up by any crying babies or anything like that. So yeah, we'll see. Depends where he wants to, but he said that is an option if he wants to be closer to us. And it's kind of a nice location. It's with, again, like I said, within walking distance to, you know, grocery store, mall, yeah, that kind of thing. So because yeah, that was what my grandma, she was in her 90s, and right up until the end pretty much, she would get her walker and she would walk to the grocery store a couple blocks away, buy whatever ingredients for what she wanted to make for dinner that night, and walk back. Yeah, she was still pretty active. Yeah, she was almost 92 when she passed. So yeah, she lived a really good long life. My cousin said she has an older knit sweater that she loved, that it's pretty worn down and stuff. She asked if I wanted it. I said sure, because it's got kind of a nice lace pattern to it, and I'm thinking that I may be able to turn it into like a cushion or something. Cushion cover, yeah. If I can figure out a way to sort of pick up stitches around it so that it won't unravel. And yeah, I'm thinking I could kind of knit it into a big cushion cover. So that would be kind of a nice, yeah, nice little sentimental memento of her. Because yeah, I had a bunch of sweaters she made when I was a kid, and unfortunately my parents stored it out in an outbuilding, and rats got in and chewed it all up, and I was very sad. Because, yeah, I mean, I couldn't fit them anymore, but, you know, they were made for me by Grandma, so, you know, yeah, I was sad. That, yeah, she liked to knit with real wool, which, unfortunately, the critters do like to use to make nests with, so, yeah. Yeah, I had a bunch of old dance costumes that my mom had sewn, and same thing, they got destroyed, so yeah. We didn't know any better, unfortunately. Okay, let's take a look here. So yeah, like I said, just working across a bit of a larger area than I normally do. Okay, this is a long piece. Oops. I'll just thread both strands through the eye of the needle, or that will not work very well. Oh yeah, I passed 100, even though this was quite a few colors to work with today. Oh, no, that would be the wrong spot. Yeah, I just realized I was too close to my grid line, so something was not right. Oops. Don't want that. Okay. Okay. Just do that little bit along that edge there. deciding what I want to do with these sort of 2 stitches that are up here by themselves, which I just realized I think I have something parked incorrectly here. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I went over one too many. I was parking that one. Yeah, I did not count. No problem. Let's go back. There, park it there. I bet some of you saw me doing that, hey? So trying to do it all with one strand without closing anything in. Oh, which means, yeah, I parked this one probably wrong too. Or I'm picking up the wrong strand. That's what I did. Yep. These are all very similar, yeah. I told you I was tired. Oh, dear. Okay, this one I think I'm going to use separate strands. Just because of the way it divides. Yeah. Now it's time to pick up this one. Not before. There, so I built up everything between it so that I could use the one strand here. Missed one there. Lots of stopping and starting here because this is so much confetti. So I think right here at 150 stitches done is where I'm going to take a break for today. Yeah, take me quite a while to get to 200, which is what I often get, but yeah, not today. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope to see you here next time. Thanks, everyone.